Hi there, and welcome to Ian's Engage channel. I'm Ian. So, first of all, let me apologise for the quality of my voice. I've been suffering from the dreaded lurgy for the past few days, and had hoped to have recovered before having to record this, but couldn't put it off any longer. Anyway, in a previous video I showed how I'd finally begun to craft the landscape for Shelfington by creating the 2 running levels on the main baseboard from foam. In this video, I'm going to create a new test track that takes advantage of this split running level arrangement. First of all, I needed to work out how the track would transition between the lower layer and the upper layer of foam. Although this was only going to be a temporary test track, I decided to try and emulate what would be happening on the layout when I laid the track permanently. So, I'm using second radius set track curves that roughly represent the tightness of the curve that will be used on the inner loop of Shelfington where it climbs into Mantlethorpe Station. If you watched the last video, you'll know that there is a 20mm height difference between the base and the upper level. By happy coincidence, or maybe design, I'll let you decide, Woodland Scenics supply sets of risers that conveniently cover the 20mm height difference between the levels as a 3% gradient. It should be noted that not all of the Woodland Scenics riser sets give a 20mm elevation increase, so if you're planning on using them, you'd better check out how much each percentage grade will raise the track. Obviously, I was hoping that a 3% rise would give me a grade that allowed most of my locos to pull stock up the curved incline in the limited amount of space I had available. The curves were laid out and the risers placed beneath them and then temporarily secured to the foam base using T-pins. The T-pins were intended to be used by sewers and knitters and are much cheaper than the ones you can purchase specifically for the job of securing foam. Like the previous test track, I've also included a couple of sidings using set track, Insulfrog points and first radius curves. This is so I can test locos as they pass over the points and through the series of first radius S-curves in order to determine their suitability for working in the marshalling yard around the Ledgetown quarry area of my layout. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not following the eventual track plan at the moment, but the inclines are close to where they'll be eventually installed. I've also extended this version of the test track so that it climbs up into Shelfington railway station using 3rd and 4th radius curves, just to determine if the layout will work in that particular area. What's interesting to me is that I can now see the approximate area where Shelfington Reservoir will be. This is quite revealing, as it shows me that I'll need to build the landscape up a little higher to make the walls of the reservoir look more realistic, as well as dig into the foam to give more depth for the reservoir itself. The test track also shows me the approximate location of Shelfington Viaduct and reveals that I'll also need to dig into the foam here to allow the bridge to look realistic. I'm quite pleased with how installing the test track has shown me a bit more of the bigger picture of how the layout will eventually look. It's also raised a few questions that I don't yet know the answer to. For instance, I had been intending to lay my track on cork as well as the foam, but should I reconsider this? How should I cover the Woodland Scenic risers to cover the gaps and to provide a flat surface for dual tracks to run on? Should I use plaster cloth, for instance, or could I use a thin layer of foam, or even cork? What should I use to paint the foam, and cork should I choose to use it to provide a base colour? Would emulsion work, or should I go with acrylic? If anyone has any suggestions, then please let me know. Okay, so that's about it for this short update. Once again, I apologise for my voice. However, if you've got any hints, tips, useful tools or techniques to pass on to a beginner in Engage modelling, or if you simply want to say hello, then please do so in the comment section. Anything and everything you've got to say will be greatly appreciated. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching. Hopefully I'll have another update on my progress soon. Bye.